Partner, it is always a wonderful experience coming for your meetings and listening to a wide variety of views on environmental issues, ocean issues. Whenever I come for this conference or such conferences, I go back with a mixed feeling of fear and hope. Fear because every time we say we are doing something, we realize we are not doing enough, right? And every time we also realize that the tools available to us in addressing these problems are improving. So while the fear of inadequacy of our action, but the hope of our capacity of dealing with these problems enhancing with time. We have been kind of marking a World Environment Day since 74, and each time we come up with a theme. Now, if you go through the list of themes since the early days, I think there is hardly any theme that we have not touched. But still, the state of the environment is every day worse than yesterday. Now, we have to really, when we talk of something, we can talk big because it doesn't cost anything to talk big. But where is the follow-up? We don't fail in talking. We fail in implementation and follow-up. Now, you talk about land degradation, forest degradation, water degradation, air degradation. We talk so much, but every day, these resources suffer more damage. And we see we are worse off. Which means, where is the problem? Why it's happening? When we're talking so much, maybe we are also doing so much. But then why we don't see the consequences? The improvement as we desire to see. Arnab, I am not only a diplomat, but also come from science background related to environmental issues. What I see, Arnab, environment, because sometimes we talk about environment as if we are not part of it. We lecture on environment. We are part of it, for God's sake. So we have to behave as a part of the environment ecosystem, not really as if we are lecturing the ecosystem or the environment. My observation, Arnab, is that humans have interacted with environment ever since the species arose. And this dialogue with the environment, in fact, Boeing mentioned that, the traditional people were able to address the environment better. Why? Because the dynamics of the dialogue with the environment was much better. They were not living off the environment, but they were living within the environment. Now, when you directly see the consequences of your action, you are more careful about the damage that you are causing. Today, the problem is that because we have been disconnected from the consequences of our action. A company may be headquartered somewhere in a big international global city, but their operations may be far off. They may be doing deforestation, they may be doing damage to the land, they may be damaging the water, but these people have no idea what they're doing. So we have been removed from that guilt that we are damaging the environment because of our actions. Therefore, there is a need to connect those who are causing damage to the damage itself. Let them live with that damage from close proximity rather than from remote places. This is out of sight, out of mind. Now, that approach will not work. I think we must put emphasis on the stakeholders that please go and live the consequences of what you're doing. You can't live in the most comfortable places and carry on your operations in the most miserable places. That is where the problem is. Because they don't see the misery, in fact, they're causing. And as a result, they feel immune to taking corrective action. This is one point. And the other point is that environment is a partner who is not so talkative. It doesn't talk back. When we make it suffer, it keeps suffering. And it doesn't immediately hit back to say that, sorry, you are damaging me. And our inability to understand, because we don't understand the language of the environment. And as a result, when it keeps suffering, we don't realize in time that the environment is suffering. Because this language is so complex and so subtle that we do not have the means of understanding those signals in time. The third point, we live on land, but we are immensely impacted by the oceans. Now again, we never thought that, it is the ocean which is regulating our environment. We thought, oh no problem. We can plant a few trees here and there. We can clean a river here and there. And we can transfer a factory from one place to the other and probably we'll solve it. We need to understand the environment with a 360-degree understanding of the ecosystems. Most of the land ecosystems are very closely impacted by oceans. I would not go into all the technical details because everybody listening today, they know what I'm saying. So, while on land, as I say, because we see the impact of what we are doing, at least we try to do something. But in ocean, it's a far off place. It's a far remote place. And we don't simply care. We have to understand that the totality of the environment is our home. It cannot damage our home for immediate short-term returns. And this is where my next point, Arnab. Now, why do we cause this damage to the environment? It is because of the growing consumption. People must understand that the land or the earth is a supplier. And we, as one of the millions of species, are the biggest consumer of those resources. Now, if the supplier runs out of supplies and we still keep consuming, we are definitely going to damage the supplier. So here the child is hurting the mother because the child doesn't know the mother's capacity and every day wants to exceed that because the child wants to become bigger. So it's a pity that we measure our growth by growth of consumption. Pure numerical consumption, quantitative consumption, more power, more energy, more transport, bigger housing, more roads and everything more. Without realizing why do we need more every day? So this whole concept of, as I always in the earlier talks talk about, good life. For God's sake, good life is not synonymous of higher consumption. It should be a synonymous of quality consumption. Can we pay attention to quality of our consumption? Which means, all right, I am not against good life. But can the good life come at lesser expense to the environment? Now that is where, Karnam, I go back every time I come for these conferences with a certain degree of hope. I always say we have to reduce and immensely reduce the resource intensity of our growth. And it can happen. It might have been difficult in the past, but today with technology, it is possible. We can cut down our resource intensity through circular production, circular methods, by better conservation, and much more than that. And I'm coming to UDA. When you say UDA, I would say, why not even on the land, a counterpart of UDA? Which means understanding well in time the language of Mother Earth, so that we could approach the whole problem from prevention rather than cure. There is no point throwing more plastic and then developing technology to recover it. There is no point throwing more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and then developing technology to recover it. It's a strange idea. You remember one of the participants in our conferences when he said, the best solution to plastic pollution is please don't throw it. Can you not stop from causing damage rather than recovering from damage? It is easy to fell a tree and then we say, no, let's plant 10 more. Now, why should you count on planting 10 more? Why can't we not stop felling those trees in the first place? Or overfishing. And then we say, oh my God, the species has disappeared. Of course, the species will disappear when we overfish. And then we cry, we shed all kinds of tears. Oh my God, the biodiversity is disappearing. It will disappear. Biodiversity is disappearing because of us. Yes. And we are not paying attention to that. And then once we do it, then we say, oh no, can we find some technology to get their species back, which has disappeared? I think we need to change our attitudes. Arnab, that is where UDA is, in my view, a great hope in understanding the very subtle language of the environment. You see, when we do something in the ocean, because UDA is ocean, so I will talk about ocean. When we do something in ocean, something happens to the ocean, right? And that is what we don't understand. Our problem is that we talk on behalf of ourselves, and then we also talk on behalf of the environment, without understanding the language of the environment. Can we go to the ocean before we do anything or when we do anything? can we study its impact on the environment? It could be a chemical impact, it could be a physical impact, it could be a biological impact, it could be a social impact, it could be any impact. Can we see that impact right in the beginning? Because by the time you hear the crying voice of the environment, believe me, the damage has already been done. Right? We need to catch the problem at the beginning, not at the end of the cycle. Then it becomes very difficult to resolve it. Yes? So, my hope, Arnab, is that UDA is not only an excellent idea, but it is also attracting excellent minds. Those minds who are much better prepared in understanding and interpreting the language of the environment and caution us well in advance where to stop or change or amend. Yes. So I can go on, but I'm sure you have limited time for me. I want to congratulate Erna because very few people have paid attention to this. You have taken the initiative not only to talk on behalf of the environment, but also understand the environment and then talk on behalf of the environment. We are all talking on behalf of environment without understanding it. So the time has come when we start dirtying our own hands, getting into that environment, living with it, capturing its suffering or happiness well in time, and make sure that we do not cause the damage in the first place, rather than crying later on how to recover from the damage. Thank you very much. I'm again going back with great hope. Thank you so much.